August 10th will of course be a very, very nice fight where it will be Serhiy Bohachuk defending his WBC interim title against Virgil Ortiz Jr. Now, of course, is a very interesting one for the sole fact that both these people have above 90% stoppage rate. That's right, very high. Now, of course, in the undercard, very nice, fights. Of course, you have Kenneth Sims Jr.'s return and Golden Boy debut. Obviously, good to see Kenneth Sims. But besides that, we'll just be talking about the main event. And, of course, the challenger, Virgil Ortiz Jr., third fight at Super Welterweight, well, technically Super Welterweight, we'll talk about that later, is 21-0 with 21 wins by way of knockout. That's right, he has a 100% knockout ratio. He is perfect. Now, of course, in BoxRec, still weird how he's ranked number 2, even though he hasn't had an official scheduled Super Welterweight fight. So he's been a catchweight, but whatever. How's he above the unified champion and the former world champion? I can't tell you. But of course, unfortunately, the fight that was supposed to happen unfortunately didn't happen, that being against Tim Tszyu, but whatever. Maybe we'll get that fight in the future if he wins this fight, but whatever. Now, of course, the interim champion, Serhiy Bohachuk, is 24-1 with 23 wins by way of knockout and 1 loss by way of knockout. A 95% knockout ratio. Both of them are relatively young. Bohachuk is 29 and Ortiz is 26. But of course, Bohachuk's one stoppage loss is to Brandon Adams. Looking back, it's not that bad of a loss. It's nothing kind of to be ashamed of. I mean, he still lost, obviously. He lost his O. But he has Shane Mosley Jr. on his record. That's a pretty good name. And he also lost to Jermall Charlo. So, still got some stuff. And he's been fighting relatively good opponents. So, not that bad of a loss. What I'm trying to say. Nothing, too big, right? It wasn't like he lost to a journeyman. But, of course, he is coming off of his best win to date against Brian Mendoza, who is the one who actually broke his knockout streak. That's right. They went the full 12-round distance in a somewhat non-competitive fight. But we'll talk about that later. But of course, the thing most people are talking about is Ortiz Jr. How will he take a punch? Now, of course, the last time he fought an actual somewhat young power puncher was the Mean Machine back in 2021. Michael McKinson, undefeated fighter. Good win. But, well, he had no power. Literally. So it's not like he could have, keep Ortiz off of him for that long. And then Lawson and Dulordeman, no offense to them. Okay, no offense to them, but they were kind of just sheep led to a slaughter, so, it knocked them both out in 1 round. Obviously, not that impressive. He only had 2 rounds at a catchweight a little bit above super welterweight. How will that do against Bohachuk? Because he has not fought in 2 years, and he's only fought 2 rounds. He is facing his toughest opponent to date, and he was hurt bad with Mean Machine, so only 2 rounds in 2 years, and already got buzzed against Mean Machine, who I would assume has a little bit more like clubbing power, a little bit more, shocking power than Bohachuk, just a wee bit. But speaking of hurt, Bohachuk was also hurt in his fight against Mendoza. In the later rounds, he got caught with an uppercut and he was hurt, not super badly, kind of similar to how Ortiz was hurt, and he recovered and he managed to go to the distance. Now, of course, like I said, it was a light replacement. Would have things changed? Maybe. It might have been closer. I like Brian Mendoza's chances, but he lost. That's all that matters. Or he won, technically, but that's all that matters, right? Of course, Bohachuk is a pressure fighter, so obviously he will be the one that will most likely be pressuring Ortiz and not the other way around. But the one determining factor is, although they both have above 90% knockout ratio, only one person has that knockout punch, or at least throws like they have that knockout punch that can change the fight in any moment, and that of course is Ortiz. Ortiz has that type of power, or at least throws in that way. Because Bohachuk, you see him fight, he don't be winging shots sometimes, he's just more strong shot, pick, boom, pick, boom, you know what I'm saying, like that. Makes sense. But it's basically, at the end of the day, this might be whose chin's just better. Bohachuk has the skill, he has the power to hurt Ortiz, but so does Ortiz. Ortiz has the same thing. That's the whole point. It's kind of like a coin flip. You're going to be coin flipping to see who gets hurt first. And unfortunately for Bohachuk, it's going to be him. he's gonna get hurt first. I think his chin is slightly worse than Ortiz. But let's not say Ortiz has a granite chin either. Ortiz does not have a granite chin. He could get hurt easily too. So it's just a coin flip. But the difference is Ortiz is more of a body puncher, which will come in handy, especially up against a power puncher like obviously Bohachuk. You know, slow him down, take some steam off the punches, and if the game plan goes according to plan, Ortiz would be pummeling Bohachuk to the body somewhat early to the point where even if Bohachuk were to catch him clean, it won't be that strong. You know, he will be able to take it. Obviously, he shouldn't be trying to take those punches. Obviously, you should be blocking, put your hands up, because Ortiz is the better body puncher than Bohachuk. Once again, it's kind of a coin flip. A little bit. I have it 60-40 in favor of Ortiz, because Ortiz, I'm not saying he has a glass jaw, but I don't know how his chin's going to hold up against his first scheduled 154-pound fight. Now, of course, if you're picking Bohachuk, it makes perfect sense. Obviously, he's a very good, very powerful puncher. But at the end of the day, the things that are most important slightly favor Ortiz. Ortiz is also lighter on the feet. Okay, he's not like a mover or angles. He's not Virgilchenko, but he will be able to slip and dodge punches a wee bit easier than Bohachuk. Also, Ortiz's defense is also slightly better than Bohachuk, which, you know, people say, oh, it's not that much better, right? But in this fight, that slight might be what ends the fight, you know, to be the one whose defense is a little bit worse to the point where you're the first one to get hit with that clean punch. That's going to end the fight. So, yeah, Bohachuk has every opportunity to win. He has power, skill, but Ortiz is slightly better in almost everything. He has a little bit better footwork. He's not as flat-footed as Bohachuk, which is a little weird. But then again, he is a forward fighter. You know, he never really had to use too much angles. His chin, we're going off of just looks, probably is weaker than Ortiz. His power, massive, not as much as Ortiz. His defense is not as tight as Ortiz's either. The only thing Bohachuk can and will most likely exploit is the fact that Ortiz has only fought 2 rounds in 2 years. That will play a huge factor, or maybe it will. Maybe they've been training his ass off in the gym. But the thing is, 2 rounds in 2 years against opponents who quite literally put no resistance against them. It's going to be very interesting to see how he reacts when he finally gets some resistance. Once again, you know, it's good that the odds have it that way. Bohachuk is only a plus 280 odds, which I think it makes sense. So at the end of the day, although Ortiz has only fought 2 rounds in 2 years, I do think Ortiz will be the one to land the flush shot first and hurt Bohachuk first and stop him. I think it might go the 7th round, because I think Bohachuk starts off really aggressive, but Ortiz's defense should be enough to get him through the early onslaught, and he catches him. But you never know. Ortiz has been hurt at 147. Maybe at 154 his chin has been reinforced so he could take some really big shots, but you know, obviously he shouldn't be trying to actually be taking those shots. But anyways, enough dilly-dallying. I got Ortiz 7th round KO against Serhiy Bohachuk. And hopefully he ends up with the Tim Tszyu fight, or maybe he fights for a title. Probably not. Crawford is mandatory for the WBC, even though the winner will have the belt. Interim belt, so I don't know what that is. I guess it's just for show. But at the end of the day, he might fight for the IBF title. Maybe. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Look for that knockout because it makes a night a little bit shorter. You don't get paid any extra for overtime.
Both fighters landing in these exchanges. Judge is going to have a tough job.
Skill for skill, tap for tap. She's like a match made in heaven.
He's dropped the guard now. What do you think of that?